for today's session, I will hand it over to Angel. Angel is a senior product marketing manager at Microsoft. She has over 20 years of professional experience in technology, and she comes with all that wealth of knowledge to share with us on how 5G can help in our regular, practices, developer practices. Angel, over to you.
Welcome. This is really exciting topic, near and dear to my heart. And so first, 5G, which is the fifth generation of wireless technology, which promises even better performance for cellular customers like ourselves. 5G brings record-breaking new speed to the phones we use, reduced latency for the responsive gaming and video streaming, and pave the way for advances from many use cases across industries. I wanted to, if this is the first time you're hearing about 5G, I hope you'll come up with the benefits of 5G for coders or really women in tech or anybody in tech. I hope you find this some good ideas from this session. If you have in the past, I hope you get a few more nuggets and learn more from the resources that I'm going to share with you at the end of this presentation. The evolution of cloud is rapidly changing into what we call ubiquitous, highly distributed fabric that's expanding connectivity from the cloud to the edge and even space. This expanded connectivity is bringing compute closer to the problems that developers are trying to solve today and are imagining of the future tomorrow. Along with IoT and real-time AI, it's unlocking new and innovative services for enterprises to transform and adopt diverse new business models. This evolution helps developers to build, develop, and operate distributed applications from the cloud to the 5G edge and over time, even space. So I hope you guys will enjoy this. And so I wanted to really, this paradigm shift that we're seeing, we wanted to share more with you on that. We believe this 5G is more than just a shift from 4G into the next network upgrade. We really believe that it helps create a new application paradigm. What do we mean? We define these new sets of offers as the network intelligent applications at the edge, powered by 5G. They're enabled by programmable interfaces that give developers access to network resources. By network intelligence, we mean that applications are network and location aware, so that intelligence comes through from cloud to edge in a way that is really powerful. These applications are high performance, which are delivering high network capacity, speed, ultra reliable, and low latency performance. They are also highly distributed, which means extending from cloud to the edge and even space. This modern connected applications are software-defined 5G technology to communicate and interact with network, leveraging APIs to deliver and optimize user experience. And because they're software-defined, developers have more control around the network. These applications run virtually anywhere, expanding from the 5G edge, as I said a little bit earlier, and to the telco network through what we're calling private 5G networks to public networks to enterprise on-prem and the cloud and space beyond. So you're able to basically develop these applications, but be able to have that common set of tools and resources that allows you to, whether you're developing applications for the cloud or for the edge, you will be able to leverage those capabilities and do it seamlessly using applications and tools and resources that you use today. As we think about 5G, there are many, many business scenarios across many industries that 5G is unlocking that would not possible in 4G, for example. So this new breed of applications unlock business scenarios across these industries as an example that we listed for you, and across really society, across many application classes, from modern scenarios where a case requires both one-hand compute and another connectivity at the edge. And here you see some examples, for example, where we're seeing some of the biggest usage is in manufacturing, where enterprises are looking to use 5G enabled networks to help increase automation through massive machine type communication for use cases like ranging from worker safety to machine maintenance to connected field service. So lots of manufacturing related use cases, which I will walk you through some of the examples from our customers use as well. We're also seeing this in automotive. In automotive, there's complex connectivity application that requires ultra low latency for in-vehicle entertainment or remote diagnostic or real-time mapping. So you can imagine that all the things that modern vehicles need, connected vehicles need, 5G is a great use case. There's also smart spaces, use cases requiring, again, that ultra low latency of reliable in places where digital kiosks, for example, and signage are connected to real-time events and information. For example, in airports or a stadium where there's gaming, this kind of 5G becomes really huge. There's also use cases in energy, and more specifically around oil and gas. We've seen an example where connectivity use cases are requiring connectivity and low latency for workers needing remote access devices for those hard-to-reach infrastructure type. So again, oil and gas, if you have somewhere out in a rig somewhere and that needs connectivity, 5G is a great use cases, and we have some examples of customers using it. There's also real-time access to data with ultra low latency in healthcare. Imagine for cases where millisecond matters for emergency responder teams, or for medical procedures to happen in a remote way. We're seeing some use cases around that, and it's really exciting to see, especially in those instances where healthcare is not quite attainable. So the future of 5G and this kind of use case is really exciting to me, especially considering having relatives in third world country, for example. Transportation use cases for 5G enabled networks makes better use of data capture than, for example, Wi-Fi. Imagine going to the airport and having a better luggage handling process using 5G. That's some of the use cases we're seeing. And retail, another top, next to manufacturing, probably retail is another top 5G enabled, where IoT devices that are enabled by 5G are improving customer experiences with quick identification of out of stock items, or to facilitate, for example, curbside pickup. So really, really exciting use cases. The other one on this list that I have is really agriculture, where farmers can use for irrigation or providing connectivity in rural area where farmers rely on technology to make real decision. And again, there's 5G use cases, but there's also this satellite use cases that I'll talk about, how we really are connecting from the cloud again to the edge, and ultimate edge for us being the space using satellite. So these are some of the just typical kind of use industries and business scenarios that we're seeing where 5G is really popping up. And some of them, like manufacturing, for example, are pretty significant use cases being used that we're observing. The other thing, you can think about, like me as a consumer, I think about many more. For example, as I drive to, on the highway in Seattle and traffic is congested, I think about how 5G can make my life better, or using my phone, or even, kitchen appliances, for example, that really 5G, you're seeing it in a connected kitchen scenario. So really amazing scenarios, business scenarios are really popping up continuously. But these are some of the really top industries and use cases that we're observing that's happening, that's leveraging 5G. And, as we think about these use cases and really what it means, it actually is really empowering these next breed of applications and forward thinking developers like yourselves to be at the forefront of change. And so this slide shows you that a recent study that we've done with Analysis Mason, which is a management consulting firm that really specializes in this area, forecasting enterprise spending on business application that require 5G, totaling about $20 billion in the next 6 years. So you can really see the business value. We're also seeing like tenfold growth in the number of 5G networks for applications that are delivered via private networks, and similarly for applications that are delivering public network type scenarios. So you can see from here, it's not just really this really fun and next generation application, but there's really business behind it for enterprises to start taking advantage of 5G. For developers, the big change coming with 5G is that many of you who are developers or in this area in tech will start to see to where developers are able to leverage network APIs as a control plane to make the best use available of infrastructure and the network. This will give developers more control over application performance, help dramatically improve the user experiences, and it will also help developers to move from a single use case model to write once and run anywhere ability to scale. So as a developer, it really empowers you to do not only develop these next generation applications, but to quickly be able to scale those at large pretty rapidly. So to sum it up, the opportunity lies really in bringing together this ubiquitous computing and 5G to create this new class of applications, what we're calling modern connected applications. All right, you say, okay, Angel. So, I hear you, there's a lot of opportunity and, for 5G, but I also want to bring to you, we understand and we see their challenges for 5G that brings to developers. And because it is an emerging area, knowing where to start can be difficult. And that's where we coming to start assessing the opportunity to improve that for developers, because right now it may seem like you're trying to enter a building without a door kind of scenario, right? And as a result, you can confront many complexities, including unclear documentation that may feel like alphabet soups for developers, and the fact that each telecommunication carrier has their own unique network constraint that layers on top of the complexities above I just mentioned. And then also, because every operator provides APIs in a different way, there's also a need to standardize those APIs across the telcos, because currently they are incompatible, right? And so you have this really difficulty to make it happen. And then lastly, the idea that data usage, the constraints that come with that, and then as a result, what does it, the inflexibility that comes with it for developers, and how do we really unblock that to where developers can create a more flexible environment for developing their applications. So these are some of the challenges. And as we look, I go into the next session, we're basically are looking at the problems at the root cause and helping create tools and resources and ways to where all these challenges are being resolved for developers. So you guys can do the awesome work in developing these next generation modern connected applications. So what I'm going to briefly just talk to you through is really the way we see it at Microsoft in helping developers is in these three key areas. One is really accessing, how do developers access the power of 5G? That's really some of the capabilities we're offering. And then how are you, the way you're used to building applications in the cloud, how do you build it on an open and flexible platform? That is really important in terms of, the tools and resources that you're used for developing in the cloud. How do you take that and leverage into developing applications for the edge? And then again, innovations that are whether you're developing for the cloud or edge or space, what are the tools and resources available to you that you could actually leverage? So I'll touch a little bit on each of these, but over time, as I provide you additional resources, you will be able to learn around each of these scenarios to learn more. So the first is really accessing the power of 5G. How are you able to do that today to develop modern connected applications and take advantage of what we're talking about as a next gen opportunity? So when we think about really 5G, I wanted to talk a little bit about what does it really enable application developers to do to really support end users. And so 5G really helps application performance for end users, as I noted earlier, in many ways, starting with higher network capacity and speed, and ultimately delivering ultra reliable and low latency application where the the problem that you want to solve is really delivered. So it really is bringing basically that immersive experience, high bandwidth and high speed at the closest of where you want to solve that problem. It really optimizes quality of service and bandwidth by building applications that react and adapt dynamically to network conditions in many different reach ways. As an example of this dynamic adaptability is when you're watching, for example, video, right? And let's say you're watching a video and you're moving from different network, and the application basically would choose the quality of the video that will run best on the available network versus the same network all the time. So this idea of when you were transferring from private network to public network, having that intelligence and without really disrupting your experience of watching your video, it really switches to give you that maximum experience, an immersive experience without delaying your video. Next, we look at load balancing 5G network traffic. Really, again, here to optimize performance through configuration like 5G quality of service or network slicing. And lastly, with 5G, you can bring compute resources and services to where they are needed, like I said at the beginning, by using, for example, using 5G telemetry services to locate users and what they're looking to do, and then really bringing the user's experience together to make sure the two come together to deliver the optimal performance. So it's really powerful in that it's both network aware and location aware to be able to do those things as you're building applications and making that available. So ultimately, this end user immersive experience solve the problems of the closest to where the problem is really where 5G use cases shine. So as we look into this new breed of applications we talked about to unlock use case across industries and society, for example, from manufacturing to automotive to healthcare and virtually every industry, 5G is enabling these three categories of capabilities. First is really mass emission type communication, which refers to what we often think of as IoT, where many low power devices require connectivity to the cellular network. And this is really the best area from an architecture that uses this model. Second is this ultra reliable low latency communication, which include use cases where low latency is often the primary requirement. Often will millisecond really matters for the safety, such as updating a road signage for smart highways when there has been an accident or incident or safety hazards that you want to quickly remove. And last but not least, there's also the third type is the enabled mobile broadband. And this refers to the more consumer focused use cases centered around video streaming, for example, where users need high-speed internet to get that real-time responsiveness or immersive experience. So these are sort of the architectures that we break into for 5G use cases at the highest level. And here I wanted to show you, as I share at a high level, this vision where we're seeing there's actually great customers. And I brought just an example to make it real for you that some of the customers in manufacturing, smart spaces, and energy and oil and gas, where we actually have customers, they're leveraging our technology and operators, 5G or private networks to really deliver this solution. So later on, I'll talk about and provide you resources when I think about Azure Private MEC or Azure Public MEC. These are the capabilities their customers are actually taking advantage of to use the power of 5G. Next, I want to talk about a little bit from really how do you build on an open and flexible platform. As you know, Microsoft is about we're a platform company. And so what we provide is really to empower not only our developers, but also our ecosystem, in addition to really the services and solutions that we want to make sure our tools are empowering you to develop in a flexible and open platform scenario that you're come to leverage in developing for the cloud. And so here you see probably applications, right, or tools that you're familiar with in developing for the cloud. So you see that the same essential and familiar capabilities that you use to develop for the cloud applications also extend to developing applications for the edge. And so we're looking, how do we provide these tool sets to have that continuum as you're developing from cloud applications to the edge with 5G, and even beyond using satellite, you will be able to leverage these tool sets. So we're looking broadly on what we're doing for the cloud and then extending these tool sets for you. So these include, those that are familiar with for like GitHub, Visual Studio, Azure DevOps, for example, Power BI and Power Platform, as well as Azure Network Function Manager, which are more specific to some of our 5G related applications and services that we're offering. So again, there'll be more resources for you, but wanted to make sure that I make that connective tissue for you as you're developing for the cloud. You're using the same tool sets to also develop applications for the edge. And earlier, if you recall, I mentioned that a key characteristics of these modern connected applications and Azure are the ability to run virtually anywhere. We can run applications across multi-cloud and edge because these are cloud native containerized applications, right? And as you develop, many of you, as I assume are developers, are building your applications, you can rely on Microsoft's commitment to open source and flexibility to build for multi-edge applications. Again, access a continuum of platform to run location-wise applications from public cloud, edge, or private, or public on-prem, AI, and then my beloved of Azure Private MEC and public MEC, which are designed to take advantage of bringing the power of Azure, but also really working with 5G effort that we're doing, working with the top telco providers and our own services that are telco grade acquisitions we've made that are delivering on these promises. So lots of capabilities, more links below at the end where you can learn about these capabilities, but I wanted you to share with you in terms of how we really are delivering this continuum to empower developers for multi-cloud and edge application development. And one of those really competitive advantage we feel we have, again, is really important. Earlier, I talked about the complexities of developing 5G, modern connected app that leverages the power of 5G. One of really our tool that is, or actually a solution is just this Azure Arc, which is really a platform that enables developers to have the ability to innovate anywhere and have that consistent, centralized, unified management platform built for hybrid and multi-cloud. It enables to build applications and services with the flexibility to run across Azure, multi-cloud data centers, or edge environments, as I mentioned earlier. So really powerful platform we're offering that really centralizes many of your development experience from cloud to edge and even space with Azure Arc. It also leverages a centralized platform, consistent development and operations and security for both new and existing applications. So it's really, you have the power to be able to do so much with the resources you already have and being using for the cloud. It runs applications on a variety, virtualized and Kubernetes platform, hardware, IoT devices, and integrated systems. So really the power of Azure Arc is really to be this fabric that allows you to build many services and leverage the Azure Arc-enabled services in your cloud-to-edge business application development. Next, I want to just really quickly talk about what does it mean innovating from cloud to edge to space? And this is really fascinating continuum, right? As we think about satellite and space, what does it really mean for developers? There's significant opportunity to be able to develop applications for that use a satellite. So in our world, we see a space sort of this ultimate edge, right? So you have the continuum from cloud to edge, and then obviously satellite that uses the spaces as of the final frontier type of edge is what we're talking about here. Again, to making infrastructure truly critical, the result will be this reliable connectivity from anywhere, everywhere, anyone being able to connect and change the way we work, play, and live is really what we're envisioning in terms of this really end-to-end experience of being able to develop connected modern applications. The space connectivity will bring ultra reliable network across the globe, from remote rural areas to highly connected densities with vast access demand. In the future, you'll be able to make phone calls from anywhere is what we imagine. And we're thinking about how do we enable that to happen for both developers and using the satellite connectivity, for example. If you're going from A to B, and if you're going out in areas where it's very remote, currently there's no connect where you don't have 5G connectivity. How does the network know to pick up satellite collection to keep you connected through that experience? So we really are imagining great use cases around here to be able to enable us to be always connected. As well as there's space-based analytics, right, that will open possibilities across industries as sensors in space collect data from Earth, and that combined with IoT data, for example, to speed time to insights, right? This is basically the internet of the future, an internet that doesn't live on the ground, but it will exist almost exclusively in space. It's an important factor when we are thinking about modern connected out, because these applications will be able to available network available condition, including but not limited to 5G. And then that means really a space. So with our, for example, Azure Orbital capability, which you'll get linked to later on, you'll see how the continuum happens from leveraging to 5G to using satellite scenarios. And I wanted to tell you a little bit that brings it sort of home together in a real awesome case study that we recently have done. And this one is a really awesome example of 5G in the real world. It's a partnership between Microsoft and a Spanish multinational company called Ferrovial, who's using 5G to build smart highways. Really, if you want to search for it and check out the video, very cool thing that you'll be able to see how we demonstrate the scenario. As highways become more digitized, as you can imagine, to improve safety, Ferrovial has created a digital smart road solution, enabling infrastructure to automatically adjust in real time changing situations, and information gathered from cameras and sensors are placed along the highway. Ferrovial also built an AI solution for object recognition to identify safety hazards, such as debris or broken down cars on the road. So you can imagine really use cases like this, how it can make our lives much more manageable in terms of traffic and safer in the future of using this kind of scenario with 5G technology. The ultra reliability and intelligence that's inherent in 5G makes this really solution possible. And space connectivity ensures that the solution extends even to the most rural areas with the cellular coverage. So in this scenario, you'll see how Microsoft's Azure capabilities, including Azure private and public multi-access edge compute technology, AI, IoT, Azure Arc, and Azure Orbital are coming together to deliver on this promise of a safe highway solution that Ferrovial built. So when you get this information, check out the video or do a search online. You should be able to see the video. Pretty cool use case scenario. And I have often think about it, like I said, when I'm in a congested traffic scenario, I say, 5G would be really cool right now. So it's really awesome how the conceptual models that we're developing actually are bringing to life capabilities that really are helping impact the way we live and work and play. So a few takeaways before I let you go. We really are convinced that modern connected applications will be enabled by 5G in such a way that it will impact our lives. So it's not just simple next generation network moving from 4G to 5G, but it's really a paradigm shift that will enable modern connected applications to be developed like amazing developers that you all are, and taking it to really bring it to make lives better in many scenarios and help us improve the way we work, the way we play, the way we live. And like I said, some of the use cases are just amazing because there's nothing like it, but those are just some of the examples. 5G is empowering developers to create this new modern connected application for new use cases and business models across industries. And Microsoft is really giving you the tools and capabilities that developers need to create and deploy these modern connected applications that will be taking advantage not only of 5G, but really that continuum from 5G into satellite and space with some of our space capabilities. More resources for you here. I've connected a number of websites, both that can give you more on thought leadership white papers, as well as really just on the solution offerings that we have. I encourage you to check it out. I know we have such a short time here, but I hope this was useful to you. And I hope, if there's any questions, I'll address them. But if you need additional resources beyond what I provided here, more than happy to share those as well. So with that, we'll go into Q&A. Thank you for your time.
So I got a question, how powerful is Edge in terms of compute memory?
Not sure if I understood the question. So the way we're building, when we build for the edge, because you're doing both the connectivity and compute at the edge closest to where the problem is, it basically should scale to the compute that you need, right? The compute power that you need. And so it's not kind of the idea. I think what we're trying to do is, rather than one size fits all, it's based on the applications you need, be able to deliver that compute and connectivity power, both for speed and then that ultra reliable connectivity that, for example, 5G, a lot of our telecommunication operators, partners tell us they expect 5 nines, right? Versus, for example, cloud may be 3 nines. So it is both from compute as well as connectivity to bring in what you need and connect it in the right way to meet that need. So I hope that helps answer, versus it's not a one size fits all.
Thank you, Angel. That definitely answered Rashmi's question. So there's another question from Manda. To you, what is the most exciting part of this technology?
I think for me, I think about a number of years ago, it's all, I get choked up about this. If you guys have relatives or friends in remote in third world countries, for example, or I remember Satya saying AI for humanity. So that the applications are really, there are lots of business applications, but also solving issues with environment, or healthcare where it's not available, food and water where it's not available, that intelligence and how we really could bring it to life in such a way that there's, more is accessible by many, right? And so I think about from healthcare as well as, this areas where, and especially, like I said, in third world country where things are limited, and them to be able to access more of what we have.
Oh, that's so beautifully put, Angel. Yeah. And I think when you showed that slide deck of the different domains where you can apply this, I really found agriculture a bit surprising. I didn't think that could be a use case at all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some use case both for irrigation, right? But also being able to get real-time insight into the crop and be able to make that real-time decision.
Manda, I hope that answered your question. There's this might be a bit on off topic, so this is a question from Vihini, but what would be the expectations from an intern in Microsoft?
you're at Microsoft, you're empowered. I think about when I interned so many years ago as a software developer compared to what I do and the interns we have is be curious, have a growth mindset and learn. That curiosity to learn, whether you're an intern or been in the industry like that I have, it's that curiosity to really push the envelope and be able to do. And I'm excited, like I said, in this topic of women who can code. Absolutely, we can, and being able to scale at that level. So as an intern, be curious, ask questions, talk to FTEs about this technology or other areas that you're interested in.
So I'll wait if I'll see any questions. But one question I have, Angel, is, you mentioned like how 5G could support innovation and all that. For me, I thought it feels like innovation is not something you always have to build something new, but if you're trying to actually reuse or repurpose an existing legacy application, are there any tools or resources how Azure or Microsoft connected apps could support that kind of facility where you can adopt 5G for a legacy application?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we work with some of the top telecommunication providers in partnership. And some of the things we talk about is what do you do with what you have today as you're building the future? And so there are the tools, and the tool sets are actually some of the ones I've talked about, the applications and the solutions. They're actually are enabling to be productive, optimize on the investments they have today as they're building, for example, 4G and LTE kind of technology. They're optimizing on that, and then as they're building and investing in 5G. So they're absolutely, that's how we're looking at it: optimize, maximize with what they have today, and build for the future, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't see any other questions, but that's been a very informative session, Angel. Thanks for taking the time. So if no one has any questions, I think we're good to wrap this up.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.